I'm building this quilt ladder because I like to quilt.
Yeah, you do. And we have a lot of blankets and quilts in this house. It's crazy. But this is a very special episode because I've been wanting to do a beginner-focused series for a very long time, and I thought, what better way than to bring in an actual beginner instead of having me do the woodworking. So,
I'm definitely a beginner, and I asked a lot of questions during this build.
Yeah, and in fact, that was really helpful, and I think it makes the video that much better because I sometimes forget what things beginners want to know or need to know. A little
longer, but better.
Much longer video, so if you're experienced in woodworking, this may not be anything but entertainment value for you, but we hope it really does serve as a good beginner foundation course, and we're going to do more of these in the future, I think, so well, let's get to it. So I'm pretty excited about this because I got to buy some new tools, and not just any tools, but I'm going to call them fairly bargain friendly, budget friendly. That's what I meant to say.
So I don't get to use your tools. I get special tools.
We bought you special tools, Nicole. And actually, they are really good. I did a lot of research to find ones that I thought were a good balance of price, value, and performance. And I think you're going to enjoy them. And the good news is we don't need many tools to make this particular project.
Great.
What we do need is wood.
Wood.
And I've got some wood here. This is all you really need is some 1x3, 3/4 inch thick stock. The home center typically will have hardwoods that you could purchase, walnut. You could probably get some cherry. That's what this is here, is cherry. The thing is, at the home center, sometimes the wood isn't as good as it could be. It's not as good as if you milled it yourself because it was milled to final thickness quite a while ago. Yeah. So it might move around.
Isn't it sometimes wobbly or warpy?
It could be a little bit wonky.
You never know what you're going to get, right?
Yeah, so when you go there and you're picking out your lumber, you want to really sight down the board, and you'll look like you really know what you're doing when you do this at the home center. You take it like this, and you kind of just hold it up, or if it's too heavy, put it on the ground, and you want to sight down like that. And what you're looking for is boards that are not really wavy, all right? And you have two dimensions. We're looking at the faces waving, but also is the board crooked, right? So you could twist it this way and look down that way. Is it crooked? Is it nice and straight?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
So that is what you're looking for. You want the straightest, flattest boards possible, and that's going to set you up for success, all right? So first thing we need to do now, even though these are already kind of cut, they're not cut to final length, we just have to cut all the parts to length. Okay. That's the joy of pre-milled material, is it's already the thickness and the width, we just got to do the length. Here it is.
Here it is.
The Metabo Hippet.
It has like little places to screw it down. Should we be screwing this down?
You would. Okay. And what we're going to do, because this is only a temporary setup, we're going to use clamps.
Gotcha. This doesn't seem very safe. So I'm assuming from the miter saw, it just came and then this didn't come with it.
Yeah, this is a extra fence that I added on. It provides a little bit more support, but it provides, most importantly, zero clearance. So it's nice and tight. The blade just has room to fit through there. That makes a cleaner cut. It's also going to do something which is really important on this. We have to cut 4 pieces that are 20.5 inches long. How do we cut 4 of them exactly the same length? We're going to use a stop. Okay. So in order to do that, I actually need a fence that's a little bit longer that can accommodate this. So here's your tape measure. Yep. Here's your pencil. Okay. Measure out from this point. We want to measure back 20.5 inches and put a line on there. Okay.
Before I do that, what does zero clearance mean? I don't know what that means. I hear you say it all the time, but I'm like,
no, it's good.
I don't know what it means.
As a blade chops down, the blade will sever fibers, right? And a lot of times those fibers can split off and it becomes frayed and ugly.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So what happens is, if you can actually support the fibers during the cut, so as it's cutting through, you have some material that's under the work or behind the work, supports those fibers, the fibers cut a lot cleaner, and that's a zero clearance. So we do that on a table saw, we'll do it here on a chop saw, it just makes a clean cut. Okay. All right? All right. So you want to hook your tape measure into this, because this actually is perfectly set up for our blade, and measure back from that point 20.5 inches.
20.
Yep, put a little mark there. Good. Boop. Now over here, I just have a piece of scrap wood. Okay. This is going to be our stop. So you're going to want to clamp this right on that edge. I really did cut it a little bit close there. You're going to go right on that pencil line. Here's another clamp. Sometimes it helps to have more than 2 hands. 2 hands. Do you need some help?
That's all right. I got this.
You are a strong, independent woman.
I am.
You don't need me.
Hey, I had shop class in 7th grade.
Yeah, didn't you tell me about someone cutting off a finger on a scroll
saw? That was
saw?
not in my class.
Now here's the thing, we measured 20.5, but it doesn't have to be exactly 20.5. The key with this is that they're all the same. So if it's 20 1/4, 20 3/4, it'll make your ladder a little bit wider or narrower, but the key thing is they all have to be the same. Because if they're not the same, and we try to glue them together with the 2 vertical pieces, it's going to get all wonky on us and wavy. Okay?
How do I know that's straight?
Well, it actually doesn't really need to be straight, it just needs to be tight, because every time you put a board up against it, it just kind of stops.
Okay.
Right? And it'll stop in the same place
That's
every
pretty
time.
cool.
Yeah. And bad news.
What?
You got to take that off.
Why?
Because you have to square one side first, and then use that side against the stop and make a second cut.
What? And then
This piece from Home Depot, or wherever you get it, is not going to have square ends.
Oh, okay.
So you have to square one side up first, and then flip it, and now you cut it to final length and square the other side. So that's why we actually don't want to put the stop on first. That was my fault.
Jerk.
A lot of miter saws will have a clamp. I highly recommend you use it because it means that you can keep your hands safely away from the action. So the first cut is just squaring it up. The second cut will cut it to the final length.
Okay.
Right, so we'll do all of our parts. You need a little of this.
A little of that. Do I need ear protection?
You sure do. Would you prefer plugs or muffs?
Muffs. My ear holes are sensitive.
That's what I love about you. So everything's locked in place.
Okay.
You could keep your hand here for stability, but you're you're well away from there. Don't put downward pressure though, because you don't want to make that stick up.
Okay.
Right? There's a safety up here. Push that, and then you grip the handle and pull it. It will kick, but you're just going to do a slow, deliberate downward motion.
Okay.
Okay, that was great. One thing I do typically when I'm down in the cut, that's when I let it go and I hold it in the housing.
Oh, okay.
That tends to be the safest way to do it.
All right.
And then once the blade stops, then you could let it back up.
This is just for show, isn't it?
Oh, the bag on the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's decoration.
Yeah, I'm like...
It doesn't do crap. So here's the thing. That's a nice square cut. You're going to want to put some kind of a mark on here so you don't get it confused, so that you know later you've already cut that end square.
Cut.
Yep, whatever you want. I usually do like a right angle.
Yeah.
L shape, because it shows that that's a square corner, but a C works just fine.
Or like that?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I like that.
unclamp it.
You know the first cut is the most intimidating cut?
Is that a philosophy?
No, I'm telling you. I feel the same way when I'm doing sewing.
Ah.
When you make that first cut in the fabric,
Sure.
It's very final.
It is. Okay.
It feels the same way.
The philosophy of
Get
Nicole.
out of here.
Hold on before you go. Are you happy with that?
No, it's away from the fence.
Yep. So loosen the clamp and make that nice and flat. There you go. If you don't, it'll be out of square.
But what if it's the wood? What if the wood's all wonky?
Don't ask that question. Buy a jointer and a planer.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, what was that?
That's why I want you to stop, let the blade come to a complete stop, and then lift it up.
Okay.
You
What
just
does
brought
it do? Is it hitting? What's it hitting?
It's vibration and things. As the blade is slowing down, if it vibrates a little bit, you bring it back up. It may hit the workpiece, or it could hit a zero clearance fence.
Okay.
Either way, you don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
It's best to just let them coast to a stop and then lift up.
I like your method of the L.
Thank you. It's a tried and true method.
I'm making a quilt rack.
All right, so now stop block is going back in place.
I got it. Let me do it.
I don't know where Ava gets it from.
Do it myself. I'm going to do it myself.
Do it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now you want to flip it around, take the square end, put that against the stop.
It shouldn't matter which side, right?
No, it does matter what side. The side you already cut
Yeah, this is the...
goes against the stop.
No, I mean, like...
Which faces up?
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter. So this is an example of why that clamp is really handy. You can do something to support it on this side if you want to, but this clamp is strong enough where if you get it pretty close, right, get that guy lined up, tighten down your clamp, that's actually going to be just fine.
Okay.
Even if this falls down a little bit on this side, the key is it's flat against the base of the saw and it is up against the fence.
Okay.
And it's also safe because it's clamped.
So obviously, we're not going to use the stop block for the big long pieces.
Yeah, we can't use the stop block for the long ones. We just don't have a fence that's long enough to do that. That's okay though, because it's only 2 parts, and there are 2 parts that, you know, if they're slightly different, it's not a huge deal. So we're just going to mark them with a pencil and then cut to the line. Also, here's another thing to get in a good habit of. Clear the dust off of your table. That dust interferes with the way that the piece sits on there, and that could be a problem.
Okay. How long is this?
72 inches. Here's a cool thing. We can get them to be the same length if we cut them both at the same time. So we're going to take your other board. We'll take the end that has already been cut square.
Yeah.
That's going to go underneath.
Is that the
So
right?
we're going to stack them.
Okay.
So on this side, you just want to make sure they're nice and flush and
Yep.
even, and then you can clamp them together.
Okay. I was just focusing on this.
That and the back.
Oh.
Flush on both.
Oh. Now you're telling me.
Flush on the back, flush on the end.
Yeah, good enough.
Okay, that looks good to me. You're clamped down. Cool. Now the key is we don't have a stop block, right?
Right.
But again, if you're off of this line a little bit, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
If it's a little taller, who cares? But without starting the saw,
That's
bring
cool.
the saw down, and then just make sure that
Yeah.
your tooth is cutting on your line.
Well, it's nice too because we're doing them both at the same time.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep. So they'll be the same no matter what.
No matter what. Does everybody make a face when they make a cut?
Yep. You make a face like you're holding a giant squid. All right, so now you want to take your verticals, right, and orient them, like look at the grain, decide if one looks better one way or another. You want to commit them to a left and a right, and then you want to mark the outside face. So this way we know which way they go. Because we, don't rub it too much, because it's tilting against the wall, you have to be pretty careful because there's a left side and a right side, and they're mirror images of one another. So what we do to put the holes in here for the rungs, it's got to be reversed on the other side, right? It can get confusing. So first thing we're going to do,
Looks like you've already decided which ones.
I've already made that decision for you. I was in here by myself waiting patiently, and I had to do something. So put them together like this,
I see.
and if you fold them open, kind of like the pages of the book, that's the inside faces. And what I want you to do, you see how I've drawn lines here?
Yeah.
That one toward the back, this one toward the back.
Yeah.
The reason I'm doing it this way is because that actually is going to tell us what the angle of these rungs will be. It's not a perfect representation. I just know it's kind of tilting that way a little bit toward the back.
Okay.
All right, so when these hold that one apart, let's pretend this is a slat.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll tilt it against the wall.
Okay.
Tilt that one against the wall. This is the final position they would be in. When you insert your slats, the idea is that the slats are now vertical to the horizon. So that's all these are, references that will help us when we're drilling the holes. So
Right.
let's talk about drilling the holes.
I don't really want to.
Yeah, dowel jigs are really the way to go, and they're not that expensive, but you don't have to buy a dowel jig. All you really need is a drill and then some kind of guide. So we're gonna make the guide out of a piece of scrap. It's gonna be the same dimensions as our vertical pieces or the rungs, but maybe about 12 inches long. You want something that you can clamp onto, and now we have to draw.
Yay.
Are you ready to draw?
I did go to art school for 1 year.
Oh, good, good. It's time for art class. So you learned how to draw a circle?
Yes.
Okay. All right, this is a 4-step process. We're gonna start by marking in from this edge 1.5 inches. That'll put us right at the center.
Whoop.
Next, we're gonna measure up from here. Not a particular length, but a particular degree. You wanna go to the 80-degree mark because the tilt of our ladder is 10 degrees off of 90, which is 80 degrees.
Right there?
Yep, now connect the dots. Draw a line all the way across there. What we're effectively doing is drawing the center line of our rungs. And the center line,
Do I need to go past it?
it's fine. The center line is the drill line. So now you want to measure in from this point along this line 3/4 inch. And that's our first hole location.
Okay.
After you have that 3/4 inch line, you go 1.5 inches from that line you just drew, an additional 1.5 inches. You can offset the ruler, go back to 1 so you get a nice even number,
Okay.
and then just go to 2.5. That will be a further 1.5 distance. All right, so we're going to drill all the way through here. You want to have a sacrificial piece of material underneath, and we're going to make a 3/8 inch hole in both locations. So what we have here is actually a brad point bit, and that little spur there at the tip is what's going to allow this thing to very accurately drill on those crosshairs. So brad point bits, if you can get them, definitely better than regular twist bits. So you want to find the point.
Find the point.
And actually put an indentation in there. You can even poke a little hole, pull it away, make sure it's right.
Because I want to be on this line.
Yes.
Yes. I want to do 2 of them, right?
Yep. Now the goal is to drill as straight and true as possible all the way through into the plywood.
For 0 clearance.
For 0 clearance. A nice clean exit hole. I never knew that a drill had so many speeds. All right, so there's your jig.
Okay.
Let's grab our vertical side pieces.
Getting jiggy with it.
So I've got the right piece, and this is the inside face. Right? This is the edge that goes against the wall. So I'm working on the inside face, and we're gonna measure up from the bottom every 15 inches and strike a line.
Okay.
So you could just do 15, 30,
yeah, I know
45.
I know how math works.
So now all you have to do is take the bottom of our little drill guide and line it up with each one of these lines.
Okay.
Also, just to double check yourself to make sure you have this facing the right way, the angle that we have here matches the angle, the rough angle we drew on there before.
Right.
So that looks good.
So I just need to make a little circle?
Wouldn't even bother.
Really?
Nope, we're just gonna clamp and drill.
Oh, okay. We're doing it.
We're doing it. Right, so now we need to know how far we want to drill because we don't want the drill bit to go all the way through, right? We don't want these dowels exposed. So let's see what we can do. I probably would leave like, I don't know, a 1/4 inch of meat after the dowel. Right? So we don't want to go much further than that. So we're going to take our drill bit, get it pretty close to where the fingernail is, and use a piece of blue tape as a depth marker.
Oh,
okay, so grab a piece of blue tape, and we're just going to put like a little flag.
Like that?
Yeah, now I'm gonna snug this up.
Okay.
I don't want it to move.
Okay.
So as you're drilling, your depth is right there. Also, when you're doing this, the more we use this, the bigger these holes get.
Okay.
So we want to be very gentle as we're trying to get the bit into the hole. All right?
All right.
And make your hole. I'll blow the dust away so you can see where you're at.
A little bit more?
Yep, just go to the point where the tape is about to hit. Get out and do your next one. Now if they see my hand in there, what I'm trying to do is keep her as straight as possible. This is a very thin guide, so you could still kind of drill off axis a little bit. I'm trying to keep your drill nice and straight.
Okay.
All right, so take the clamp off, move to your next 15-inch spot, and repeat that process. Look at those beautiful holes.
Look at that!
I mean, the joy of this is if you do your measurements right and do them consistently, you get the same location, the perfect location each time. And then once we have our rungs done, they'll just pop right in.
That's cool. Uh-oh.
What?
What is that?
It's a booger?
No, it's brown. It looks like... Did I go into the...
I sure as hell hope not.
Oh, no!
I think you did.
How did that happen?
Well...
I went to the thing. Did it go up?
So we're going to be doing a little repair. So we had a little bit of a boo-boo here. The tape moved. And I think you have to be real careful because you keep putting pressure on there.
Yeah.
You roll, like kind of roll it over, but then you'll slowly start to push it if it doesn't have a great grip. That's what happens. So
dang it.
If you look at this side on the show face, we got a little boo-boo.
I'm sorry.
And Nicole put a nice little hole in my new outfit table.
Can we fill it with epoxy?
That's fine. But we will repair this, but I don't want to do it now. We'll worry about it later.
Okay.
With the inside face facing up. So now these are once again open like the pages of a book.
Yep.
Okay. So if these guys are going this way, we're now going this way.
That way.
So how's that little jig have to go?
Like that way.
Yeah, you got it. And by the way, if you have a long square, like a good sized square, you can actually butt your two pieces together like this and then run the square from your previous marks all the way across instead of remeasuring. All right, you know the drill. right, so next thing we need to do is drill the matching holes in the ends of the rungs. You can see I've got this piece vertical. Depending on what you have in your shop, you might be able to come up with something better. Traditional workbench is good for this too. But I've got an old wooden clamp and then a regular clamp holding it to the bench, right? So we're kind of rigging together our own little thing.
That's fine.
All right, and if we could, the ideal situation would be to have some kind of other jig that would allow this thing to just kind of sit on there, but because of that 10-degree angle, and this is just a one-time project, I don't know that it's worth it to try to jig this up. We're just gonna mark the center line,
okay,
and then mark in about 3/4 of an inch on each side, making sure that our two holes are 1.5 inches apart, right? To do that, we're gonna use squares. So
squares.
I do recommend adjustable squares. I think they're fantastic. So this is the side that's gonna take you about halfway. And there's a little technique that we do where you keep it nice and flush. Hold on, you're at a really strong angle there.
Am I?
Straight up and down with your pencil.
Oh, I got you, the pencils.
Yeah. And then drag it back.
Whoop.
There you go. There's your center line. So now, you're gonna wanna pretty much do this on every one of your pieces. I happen to have more than one square, right? But ideally, you don't wanna change that setting until you mark this line on all of your rungs.
Okay.
Then you could change the setting to mark the hole locations,
Ah.
right? But I have 2 squares set up for this.
Gotcha.
So mark in from each side.
Like that?
Yep. And double check that it's 1.5 inches between those lines. That's the most important thing here. Looking good?
Looks good.
Okay. All right, so we need to set our drill bit. Go ahead and pop a dowel into one of your holes. Okay, once it bottoms out, now we have to make sure that the bit is set to at least cut that distance, right?
Yeah.
If this hole ends up a little bit deeper, it doesn't hurt anything because it just keeps going deeper into the board.
Into the wood.
Nice. Now, an optional step is to do a dry assembly. I think we should.
Yeah.
Because this way you could just double check and make sure everything is
Lined
working
up.
the way it's supposed to. We can just kind of pop them in as we go. These might need a little bit of convincing. A dead blow hammer is really good. It's a plastic hammer with like lead shot in it,
Gotcha.
and it doesn't dent the work.
That's good.
I mean, it can, but you really got to hit it hard. Watch you finish.
Look at that! High five!
Now this is exactly why we do this. Got a little bit of a gap here. Now I can't tell necessarily if that's something we need to drill further on, or if a clamp will close it up. And if a clamp does close it up,
Looks closed to me.
that's probably pretty good. That was just the pressure of the dowels.
Cool.
Successful dry assembly. And this is the sucky part of this is you got to take it apart again. Shouldn't be too bad though. All right, let's get these guys out.
There's only one. Oh, we got to take them out of all of them.
So once again,
Yeah.
we got the left and the right together. Actually, I've got it backwards like this. Here's our front edges. And this sucker is going to lean up against the wall. Now, in order to do that and still look good, we got to put a cut at the bottom, which is that 80 degrees or 10 degrees, depending on which way you look at it. But then we're also going to do that up top here, and it's going to be a longer cut. All right, so the bottom, we can cut that at the miter saw.
Okay.
We cannot cut that, well, there are ways to do it, but not with this saw. This cut at the back. All right, so first let's lay out. I'm going to actually draw an approximation of the cut we need to make, only so that I don't get confused.
How do we do that cut?
We'll get there. You're so excited.
We're almost done.
Settle down. I'm going to draw an approximate cut line like this, which will level it out. Do that on both sides. So at the bottom here, this is just a simple line that you can draw using your protractor. Go right to the corner, and you're aiming for that 80 degrees,
Gotcha.
10 degrees off.
Okay.
Do that on both, and now we can make these cuts at the chop saw. All
Perfect.
right, so now we've got to set this guy 10 degrees off from 90, and the scale, it's at 0 now.
Right.
So loosen the handle, then you push down on this to release it, and crank it to the left to what looks like 10 degrees. Okay, now tighten the handle. Now it's locked in.
Okay.
Now a cool thing is we still have our 0 clearance here.
Yeah.
Because we went this way, we're going to cut more into this. So
Oh.
I would like you to make that cut first to
Okay.
establish the cut in the fence. That's actually going to help us line up our workpiece.
Gotcha.
So just make one quick chop.
Okay.
All right, and now check this out. See how that line's going the wrong way? We're
Yeah.
not going to mess with the setting. We're going to leave it right where it is, but we know we need to come out to this point. So if we turn it over, and we could just line up with our fence.
Ah, yeah.
And when that edge is at the edge of that cut we just made in the fence, now we know we're lined up. All right, so to draw this longer angle, we're going to go from the front edge in 2 inches. And you want to take that 2-inch line, grab your protractor, and go 80 degrees up.
I want to center it, right?
Yeah, you want to be centered on that line, and you want to be flush with the bottom of your workpiece. Keep that angle perfect.
Okay.
Just like that. Boop. Okay, now grab your ruler again and extend that line all the way across. Just connect the dots.
La la la.
That's the line we need to cut. So
Okay.
put one on there as well.
Okay.
To make this cut, we're actually going to use a Japanese pull saw. These are actually great if you're going to get one saw to rule them all, because this one has a nice fine tooth configuration, so you can make really good cross cuts. And then one side looks like it's even got a bit of a progressive pitch there, meaning smaller teeth and larger teeth on each end. And this is good for ripping cuts. So we'll be using this one because we're kind of doing mostly a rip cut here.
Right.
But we need to clamp this thing down.
Okay.
Thing to keep in mind is, this is the first time you're using this saw.
Yes.
Don't try to hit the line perfectly.
Right.
Because chances are you're going to go into the line at some point. Stay away from the line. We can always fix it with the block plane.
Okay.
It's a pretty small piece. You've used the saw before, like a hand saw. Like a traditional, maybe you haven't. Nicole, go get some firewood.
That was an axe.
Okay. So this is a pull saw.
Yeah.
Western saws,
So
the ones
pull
that
it.
look like a traditional saw that you've probably seen as a kid, those are push saws.
Yeah, yeah.
This one is cutting every time you pull.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah, yeah.
And you could use your finger as a bit of a guide. Just don't cut your finger off.
I already got a Band-Aid.
Keep the saw blade in the wood and use your finger as a bit of a guide as you pull back and get that thing started. Just take your time with it. Do you want me to get it started for you?
No, I got it. I got it.
Just this is one of those things, you ever hear they say, let the saw do the cutting? The blade will flip-flop around and buckle on you if you put too much pressure.
Ah, I feel it now. I feel it.
You got it, you got it. The first one's always the hardest, Nicole.
Yeah.
Now you could vary your approach. You can go at a sharper angle.
Is this supposed to take this long?
Well, you're not using the whole saw.
Yeah, that's true. Should I use the whole saw?
Well, let me show you a little bit. The more you use the length of the saw on each pull, the more efficient your cut's going to be.
Okay.
If you're just doing this, you're doing a lot of extra motion. So long, smooth cuts.
Ah.
So just be very, I was just about to say, be very aware of where your body is, because as you come through that cut, you don't want to hit yourself in the kneecap.
Yeah, we don't want that.
That looks great. So we're a little bit in front of the line. That's perfect because that's a safer choice.
Yeah.
I think we're okay. So let's get this guy flipped over on end and we'll start to attack this with the block plane.
Okay.
Here's the line where this angle stops. It's a good idea to kind of just draw a rough line across.
Okay.
So we know as we plane back, we don't want to go any further.
Right.
If you start to remove that line, we've gone too far.
Okay.
So I've got a nice freshly tuned up Stanley block plane. And this is all we're really going to do. You could do these short passes like this.
We're staying closer to the
I am trying to straighten it out.
Right side.
Yeah, because you were kind of on a little bit of an angle when you cut.
That.
So we're going to take the high spot down. Like that. And this cut's pretty clean.
Yeah.
We're also cutting downhill with the grain, which means
Right.
it's going to cut nice and clean and easy. All right, go for it. So with your right hand, keep your fingers in the little finger holes. Those little indentations are there.
These little guys.
Those are for your fingers.
Okay.
And your left hand is going to hold the top and guide it through the cut.
And should I be coming up here?
Start here.
Okay.
And if you want to, if your left hand's in the way, you can just put your index finger on the little handle there and just kind of go more one-handed.
Oh, interesting.
And then at least you're not blocking your view.
Yeah.
But it just depends on what's more comfortable for you. It's okay. You have plenty of material to remove, so get to know the plane. And what'll happen is you're going to take the high spots down and you'll be taking bigger shavings as you go.
Gotcha.
We can make it so it takes less of a cut and it won't be as hard to push.
So what does that mean? It just makes it thinner?
We're going for thinner slices of deli meat here.
Okay.
So here's another little tip for you. blades kind of, if you go straight on like this, it's actually harder to push through. If you go on a slight angle, cuts a little cleaner, cuts a little easier. Cool. So give that a shot. You've got an angle already started here. If you get this guy started on that angle, don't start like this. Try to get the front of that plane on that angle, and then just continue pushing through. The blade will remove what it has to remove.
Like that?
Yep.
I guess we got a little bit more.
Yeah, so now it's a matter of just getting down to your lines.
Do I need to get back here, or is that
you should, because we have the same line on the other one. That's what makes them consistent. And if you have a high spot that you're trying to work down, you can do a little back and forth like that. Like you're erasing with a pencil. You're getting darn close now.
So what happens when it does like that skip?
It jumps?
Yeah.
It could be just the pressure. You're not putting enough pressure on the plane to hold it down, and it wants to skip out of the cut.
Like that?
Yeah, it's a finesse tool. It's a matter of like the more you use it, the more you get to know how it feels.
It's kind of cool.
It's very cool. So now we got another cut to do.
Okay.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
What?
You're trying to go flat.
Okay.
You're just going to skid on the surface. So don't worry about the rest of the cut
back
until you're well started.
Okay.
This is one of those times where like you realize the more accurate you get with the sawing, the less work you have to do later.
Right.
There you go. Watch yourself. There you go.
Ta-da! Like that?
Yeah. It's looking pretty good. Now, if we had a router, we would put a nice little edge treatment all the way across, but we're not using a router today.
Sharp.
Yeah, because this is a really sharp edge. You can actually cut yourself on that. So we're going to prep, sand all the parts, and we're going to apply a nice little round over. We're going to ease the edge. I think the easiest way to do that, quickest way, is with the block plane. You just kind of go at a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
And what I like to do is actually count my passes. So whatever your blade is set at, you'll do the same number on each one. So if I say 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's all I want, I'll do that on all of these corners. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Like that. Just count your passes and make sure you keep them consistent. So using sandpaper, either by hand or if you have a sanding block, that's even better and faster for this. You're going to basically, because we just created a straight line.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a 45-degree chamfer. Some people like that. That could be a nice look, but we're going to go for something that's a little bit more of a roundover. So we're going to sand that chamfer, but also the angles, these sharp points, the hard lines, we're going to soften those too, like this. So what was a chamfer
now
has become a roundover.
It's nice.
Right, a nice soft touch. While we're at it, we can also sand our edge if we want to, because we are getting ready to be in the finish stages of the assembly. So this is also a good reason to use a router, or you might consider adding a router to your arsenal at some point, because a router with a small 1/8-inch bit gonna buzz right through this.
Yeah.
And you got to do that on your rungs as well.
Okay.
Okay. We are not going to be doing any edge treatment on the edges of the rungs, because those
go right
up against this piece, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to round those over.
But this is what we want to round
over.
over.
But we round over the long edges.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any reason to show all this on camera. It's kind of boring. And once you have your edges the way you want them, you want to sand the faces.
Okay.
And the thing is, this is a joinery face. So if you hit this with a power sander and you're too aggressive, you could roll it, you could do all kinds of crazy things so that when these pieces try to join up, they don't look as good.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is, if it's a joinery face, you don't do anything but a sanding block, something that's firm, that allows you to keep everything nice and flat, smooth it out, save the power sander for the edges that do not join up to other pieces.
So can I do it in the middle?
Yeah, actually I think you can. You could use the sander here in the center, and then just when you get to these parts, sand minimally here by hand.
Okay.
And then yeah, the edges, those will do separately.
How do I know I've sanded enough?
I'll show you. So the way I usually tell when I've sanded enough is I mark up the surface with a pencil, and then I sand it.
Okay.
When the pencil's gone, then I'm ready to go to my next grit. So on something like this, I probably would start with maybe 120 and then jump up to 180.
Okay.
You want to go to 220, that's fine too, but
get to it.
Get on it.
Get on it.
Now in the area with the joints, go ahead and hit that with the sanding block.
Like butter.
Yeah. So it's going to be the same process on all the faces, but really there's nothing more boring than watching someone sand. Now if you're inclined to power sand these, do not sand them one at a time. So what you can do is actually sand these together. A lot of times you can clamp them if you need to. But now you have a full 1.5 inches to rest on, and that's a lot more.
And I can just
real
do the
estate.
whole thing now. Don't have to worry about the little dots.
Yep, all the way across. All right, so we have everything sanded.
Yay!
All the edges are done. Everything is nice and pretty.
I like
and I want to show you something I did while you were out getting the kids from school. I went forward and I thought that some cleats would help here. When this thing is up against the wall, I've seen a lot of these that don't have anything attaching them to the wall, at least in catalogs. I don't know if that's actually the case, but it looks like something that probably should be attached to the wall. So I put an additional cleat here. It's just one of the pieces of scrap material from the project, simply glued to the inside face. And then I have a hole pre-drilled. I don't know how I'm going to attach it yet, but that hole's there to drill it right into the wall. So that's all that is. And I actually cut the top at that 10-degree angle.
Yeah, because I would think with the weight of all the quilts that I'm going to put on it, it
just seems like it could slide.
Yeah, right?
I don't know how these things work.
We're gonna,
but we'll find out.
It's a safety measure.
It just seems like a smart way to go.
I appreciate.
Yeah. So now we're gonna start the glue up. Okay, so we have all these dowels over here. The only thing we're really gonna use is a glue bottle and a couple of toothpicks. So when you have dowel joints like this, you really need to get the glue into those holes, and toothpicks are really, really good.
I just can't squirt it in.
You can, but it's going to make a big mess.
Oh, okay.
We're going to try to avoid making a big mess.
Okay.
Right? And we need some clamps. Right? There are 4 rungs here, so let's grab 4 clamps off of the rack and we'll be ready to roll.
Okay.
Not that much.
It's not that much.
Okay, you did good. That's fine. More. Yeah, so just get a little bit down in there and then use the toothpick to squeegee it on up the sides.
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, you don't have to have glue on the dowels themselves, but if you can get some on there, it's certainly a good thing.
So who taught you this method?
Dowel joinery?
Just this trick with the toothpick.
Well, mostly common sense. Like, you need something skinny to get into a hole. How about a toothpick? I'm sure I've seen another woodworker do it at some point. Put them into these horizontal pieces first, and they kind of act like tenons at that point as part of the rails.
Why are we using Type on 3?
Type on 3 is really good for open time, and I feel like on a project like this, a new person doing the work, it's probably not a bad idea to have as much open time as possible. Oh, Nicole.
I'll just get another one.
All right, so now I'm going to add glue to all of the holes here.
This is what they call teamwork.
TM work.
TM work.
Glue on end grain doesn't really do a whole lot because wood grain is kind of like a bunch of straws.
Right.
So imagine putting glue at the end of a bunch of straws. It's just going to kind of soak in.
Yeah.
And that's really what happens here. But we do want to get some glue onto those dowels. And any glue that gets onto that end grain, meh. So what?
All right.
Something's better than nothing, I guess.
Did you get me a brush?
No. Because you're going to do the glue or the hammering. What would you rather?
The glue. Probably a little bit too much, huh?
That's fine. If there's too much glue, it will squeeze out and we will clean it up.
Clean it up. Oop. Yep.
Finally, get a little bit of glue on each of these dowels. Here, come behind me with the brush.
Okay.
And give it some love.
Ooh.
I'll start by lining mine up and then you could drop yours in. Now, the way this usually works best is if you start on one joint and then work on the next one, then the next one. If you start here, but then also line this one up, it'll never go together. Boom, baby. And even with a dead blow, sometimes it's better to hit another piece of wood. All right, all we got to do is lay it down use our clamps to bring everything together. So these are, we've been using this style this whole time. These are called F-style clamps, like the letter F. F for fun. Let's say you went with pine on this. You got some home store lumber with pine or a Douglas fir or something. That's soft wood, and even these clamps with these plastic pads, they will dent.
Yeah.
So use pieces of scrap between the clamp heads and your good material.
So I see a lot of glue schmutz.
Well, that's right, Nicole.
Do you just get a paper towel and wipe it?
Yeah,
or
pretty much. I mean,
is that going to affect the finish?
it can, yeah. So a lot of times I will wait for the glue to set up. It'll skin over a little bit, and then I scrape it away.
Okay.
Wiping it while it's still wet, you kind of spread it around, and you do have a chance of kind of interfering with finish or stain. But sometimes when there's just too much, it's just easier to get like a little cup of water, a paper towel, and one of the brushes like we used, and just get it out of there. It'll make a little bit of a mess, but once you clean it all out, then you could sand it once it dries.
Okay.
Everything will be fine.
All right.
Right? So in a case like this, we got a nice little gloop in there. I'm going to use a scraper. You could use a chisel. You could use a screwdriver, a putty knife, whatever you're comfortable just kind of scraping along the surface like that. Get that into a paper towel. You really just want to get the bulk away before you even think about putting water on there.
There's some over here too.
And then a little bit of clean water on a brush. Some people use a toothbrush. An old toothbrush for this. That's whatever you're into.
Just don't use it after.
Yeah, please don't. Then you just let that dry. Now, once this dries, this will be rough because it raises the grain.
Sure.
We'll come back and just real quick by hand, clean it up and sand it, and it'll be good to go. But that is better than dealing with fully dried glue.
Sure.
That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. We don't really have to worry about the back.
Do you worry about the back? This is like a classic woodworker sort of question. You know, do you put finish on the inside of a cabinet?
Right.
These are things that we ask ourselves. And that's a personal choice. I will say for me that yes, I absolutely will clean the back as well as the front. But someone may make a different decision, and that's okay.
Like myself?
Yeah, I mean, you're...
I would be like, not going to be seen.
It's okay for you to make crappy work. No one is here to judge you.
I'm a get-her-done girl.
Except for me.
Get it done.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to just get it done, don't worry about that because it'll be against the wall. Personally, I would not intentionally leave
glue
squeeze out on anything ever on a project.
All right, we'll do it your way.
Thank you. Looking good?
Yep, it does.
Right. Now we'll let this dry for at least an hour. You don't really want to stress the joints, but if the temperature's decent in the shop, definitely keep it in the clamps for at least an hour. All right, so I already took it out of the clamps for you.
All right.
And now we need to just sand these joints. You want to sand with the grain.
Okay.
Right, so when you're doing this piece here, you're going to sand in this direction.
Okay.
And then when you're sanding this side rail, you can kind of go up and down.
So I'll do the up and down first. So how do I get into that crack? I mean, it's not like...
You can only get so far. Right?
Okay.
You can scrape it if you need to use a scraper or something like that, but using a nice, firm piece of sandpaper is usually your best bet.
Okay.
If you tri-fold a piece of sandpaper like this, so this is already beat up, it's not a good example, but you can tri-fold like so. And now this front leading edge is pretty sharp, so you can kind of get in there like that, and then go down like that.
Yep.
And if anything looks weird when we apply the finish, we could sand it a little bit more.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about finishing.
Yeah.
When you think of furniture, what do you think in terms of finishes? Like if you were going to go to the store, what are you going to go buy?
Minwax.
Bad idea. No, just kidding. Yeah, I mean, Minwax products are great. They make a full line of products. If you go to like Home Depot or Lowe's, you could find Wipe On Poly. That's a really good option. They have different types of like what they call a tongue oil finish. You could find stuff that's more of an oil varnish blend. You could find a company called Watco makes Danish oil, right? That's an oil varnish blend. These are all perfectly good finishes.
But when I think finish, I think dye in the finish because usually you would want
in some
possibly
cases,
darker than the wood is, especially if you're using a light
Depending on what finish, depending on what wood you get, you certainly may be dying. In which case, you may just want to use an oil-based stain. You may have a plan of attack for how you're going to do this.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I try not to color. If I can get the wood to be what we want it to be, and in our house we have a lot of cherry.
So if I said to you right now, oh, I kind of wanted it a little bit darker.
And I say, there's walnut over there. Let's get started. I try to get the wood to be the color we want it to be. That's always better than staining if you can do it.
Okay.
If not, then you have to go the stain route, and it is what it is. So since we have a lot of cherry and alder in our house, this wood will age naturally and get darker, and it's going to look really, really nice. A lot of our furniture already is cherry. So all we're going to apply is a hard wax oil. This is already mixed. We're going to wipe it on and then wipe it off.
Okay.
As easy as can be to apply.
So you're doing the on, I'm doing the off?
We're both going to do the on.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
You get pretty much, you get a lot of mileage out of this stuff. You don't need a lot. This is a no VOC finish. It's called Rubio. This is actually something that I wouldn't necessarily recommend to a beginner, but this is my finish of choice. It's what I have in the shop all the time, so it's what we're using.
I would think as a beginner, I wouldn't want to deal with nasty chemicals.
Of course, that's definitely a thing. If that's the case, they do sell sample sizes, and because a little bit goes a long way, you can actually, something like this, you could easily finish with one of their samples.
That's kind of cool.
And I think it's like $10. You know, shipping, it's one of those things where the shipping is like more than a product.
You can find this product at like hardwood floor. I've seen Rubio when we got our floors done.
Yeah, hardwood flooring places. Well, that's where Rubio came from. But there are tons of finishes. I think a really good beginner finish, if you want something that's like a close to the wood look without a real thick film.
It's pretty.
I would say go with something like a Danish oil. It's an oil varnish blend. It is going to have some, you know, nasty chemicals in it that you want to make sure you have good ventilation.
A respirator on?
Ideally.
Yeah, we don't even have a respirator on.
No. I do still put one on sometimes with this.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't love the smell. That's just personal preference.
Don't mind the smell.
I see a spot we got to fix.
How do you, what do you see?
It's a light spot. The finish doesn't look as dark there. And that tells me that there is a glue streak that needs to be addressed.
Interesting.
Jeez. Now most finishes that you apply require, you know, 2 or 3 coats.
What about this stuff?
This stuff is in the name. It's called monocoat.
Oh.
Technically, you do 1 coat and it's done, but they do have other products. I kind of jokingly call it duo coat sometimes because I like to apply 2 coats. They have a second product that you can use that will give it a little more sheen.
So does this dry pretty fast too?
This does, yeah. So like.
So if you really want instant gratification.
Oh yeah.
This is.
We'll be putting this in the house tomorrow.
Yeah.
It dries to the touch pretty much as soon as you wipe off the excess.
Do you do the bottom of the feet?
Okay. Always do the bottoms.
And is it like, because I'm just circle.
I do actually, I don't know if you remember, I did a video on how to apply Rubio to furniture. So if you're interested in that, you can go learn more. But again, I still think an off-the-shelf option from the home center is probably going to be more beginner friendly in terms of like just making it easy and not being a big investment.
Do you have to worry about blotching with finishing something like this?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the wood species. Usually it's not as bad when it's a clear finish. Yeah. It's like when you stain a lot of times. That's when you see the blotch the most.
And that's when you start troubleshooting. What is going on?
Yeah, then you have to do blotch preventative things, and it's a whole. We have videos on that too, and articles. Cherry is a wood that does blotch. So if we were to stain this cherry piece, you would see, you would definitely see some blotching going on.
Is it okay we get finish on your assembly table? I guess it doesn't really matter since I put a hole
in it, so who cares?
Whoops.
Another good finish you might consider, if you're looking for more of like a natural type of finish, are the oils. Pure tongue oil is a good option.
Boiled
linseed oil is widely available. Every hardware store carries it.
But isn't boiled linseed oil, isn't that the stuff that can catch fire if you don't properly dispose of?
All oils.
All oils.
And especially you should just take precautions with any oil-based finish and not crumble up your rags and throw them in the garbage.
Yeah.
That's how houses and shops have burnt down in the past. So if it has oil in it, you're better off just spreading it out in a single layer, throw it out in the driveway, put a rock on it so it doesn't fly away.
Let it get all crinkly.
Let it
dry.
get crusty, and then throw it away. Okay, so I actually forgot we didn't do the little fill over here.
Whoops!
There's 3 or 4 things you can do for this little repair from before. First of all, it's 3/8 of an inch, perfect hole size. You could buy a 3/8 dowel.
Ah, yeah.
So basically you just cut a little piece of this, pop it in there. Now what that's gonna do is show end grain.
Right.
So it's gonna be dark and it will always be visible. Second thing you could do is more involved and it's more investment. You're gonna wanna get a tapered plug cutter. And you can cut a 3/8 plug out of regular face grain wood that you could pop in there, and it's wedge shaped. So it spreads out nicely, and you could try to match the grain, and that's if you want it to disappear. The other options are filling it with stuff.
Like,
fill it with epoxy, fill it with a wood filler.
What about what's the wood filler you like to use? The,
Timbermate.
Timbermate.
Timbermate wood filler is a good option.
I mean,
if you wanted to go that route.
Which one would be the least noticeable?
A tapered plug cutter.
Okay.
Because that's actual wood.
What's the second least noticeable?
The second least noticeable thing to do is to put it on the side that goes against the wall and not worry about it. And I think that's where we're at.
Okay.
Look, if I have to look at a hole in my outfeed table for the rest of my career, you get to look at a hole in your quilt rack.
That's
How's
all right.
that?
You know what?
It's fair?
That's fair. That's fair.
So this is the part that makes this finish great. If you're new to finishing, streaks, lines, just imperfections in the surface haunt you, and it can be a real problem. This is what's great about this kind of finish, and also this would be the same for any kind of oil. You just wipe away the excess, and you're really letting the wood do the talking. It's a very, kind of matte finish.
This is the same finish you used on our table, which is nice because it can easily be repaired. Not that this quilting ladder is going to.
What are you doing with this ladder? I mean, if the kids take it like as it's labeled and start climbing on it, then we might have to do some repairs. Pretty good for the back side, and this is strategic now because we're gonna finish what we're doing here with the back side down.
Ah, gotcha.
So if there's any little weird things that happen to it, it's not gonna be that big of a deal.
That looks nice.
Really warms up though, doesn't it?
So over time,
yes.
Will this will get darker?
Cherry does, not all woods do. Cherry is one that over time with oxidation, exposure to UV, will darken up and it'll get several shades darker. If you have a table made of cherry and you leave like a placemat on it, or a centerpiece.
Or a quilt.
Or a quilt, that actually will happen on this, by the way. If this is filled with quilts, the rungs will stay a lighter color if they're covered, and then the outside verticals will actually darken.
Interesting.
Yeah. Don't use your bare hand on it or your gloved hand.
Okay.
Because you're going to keep mushing finish around.
Gotcha.
So from now on, you only touch it with a paper towel hand. Just lean it over here. Let it cure. Okay, so tomorrow we'll come back and we'll get that thing hung up in the house.
Yay!
Looks good.
It does.
All right, so if we were lucky enough to have studs here, we could just drill right into the stud, but I think where we're at, where we consider to be like the perfect position for this, is actually not touching a stud on either side.
How do you know?
Because I used my stud finder.
Oh.
This is something every household should have. You have a stud finder that tells you where the studs are. So again, we are going into drywall, so we're going to use anchors, wall anchors to do this. All right, so the first thing you want to do, make sure everything is where you want it. We're committing to this location. You're happy side to side with that?
Maybe a little bit over? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What we're going to do is take the drill bit that I used to make that hole. You could even go a little smaller if you wanted to, but we're going to give it a little twisty twist. That's making a mark in the drywall. All right, we'll do the same thing over here. I'm just trying to transfer the marks.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I have here is a half-inch bit.
Why is that so big?
You know how hard I'm fighting? That's what she said. So let's move this out of the way.
Okay.
We have our 2 starter holes. You're going to drill a half-inch hole through there. I'll do one, you could do the other.
All right.
There you go. Now, this is a toggle thingy that Simpson Strong Tie makes.
Okay.
The idea is this guy goes inside the wall. This little piece flips out like a little T shape. And then you are pulling up against that. It's putting pressure on the inside as you drive a bolt from the outside. Right? So that's why you need that big giant gaping hole. You got to fit that whole thing through there.
That makes sense.
And once it's through, you pull back and you can tell it's nice and taut.
Okay.
there's this little, this is a hoochie.
Sleeve.
It's a little hoochie. It's a sleeve with a thing on it.
It's almost like a zip tie.
It is kind of like a zip tie. That goes right into the hole, pull it nice and snug, and then you go like this.
Oh, look at that.
Break that off.
That's pretty nifty.
You want to do the second one?
Sure. Push it in.
Yep, push it in.
All the way?
Yep, okay, now pull back. Now it's stuck.
I got it.
Yep, slide that down. There you go. Nice. Pop it. So try to line it up with the holes. You hear the bolts. You notice these are dark.
Yeah.
I actually spray painted them. I figured that's going to look better than silver hardware.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll just...
This is a manual
It
drill.
is. Well, here's the thing with these spray painted.
Yeah.
I don't want to mangle them.
Yeah.
So let's just take our time.
I'm glad we're bolting this down.
Yeah.
Because the kids would totally try to take it and like climb somewhere with it.
All right, so those are basically spreading out on the back end and putting pressure on the back side is actually pretty strong.
I made this blanket for Ava. Here's Mateo's blanket. Your beautiful blanket.
What about my Star Trek blanket?
No. That can
No?
go. I want my jean quilt.
All right, that looks good to me.
I think it does.
Are you happy with it?
I'm very happy with it.
All right, so now that the project is over, what'd you think?
I loved it. It was a lot of fun, and it was really... I thought I was going to be more frustrated being in the shop with you, but it turned out to be
It can be very frustrating with me. So we'll do another one in the future?
How do you feel about the project?
No, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. You think we'll do another one?
I think so.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Which is your favorite?
I like it.
Yeah, do you like it?
I like all of them.
You
All
like
of them?
all the quilts?
Cool.
Oh,
All right,
thanks,
well,
Ava.
thank you for watching, everybody. And if you like this, make sure you tell us. Let us know. This is like a very different vibe
It really
than
is.
normal videos that we do. So give us some feedback. Let us know if you liked it. And we will see you next time. Say bye, guys.
Say bye.
Say bye.
Marker.
Action.
Are we sure this tape measure is accurate?
Well, you can go check it. You can go to the store and buy 10 of them and compare them to each other.
Hey, what's this?
I'm gonna post this on Instagram. Can you wear a tighter, lower cut shirt? I was intending on this being like a serious instructional thing, but I'm pretty sure that's not what we're getting out of this. No. The first cut is the hardest cut. So it's a 4-step drawing that you're gonna do, right?
Yeah,
the
I see
first,
it right
no, I'm talking
I'm
like
sorry.
we're doing a video, Nicole.
Okay. This is what you get with me.
Ruin my brand new outfit table. You're lucky I like you.
Yeah, you make me nervous.
I have that effect on women. It's a ladder. You realize this is going to get us in trouble because people are going to be like, yeah, we want more of that.